If we imagine Maslow as a ladder, the first rung is the physiological, which is your food, water and sleep. After that's been established, we need to feel safe. Safety can be safe from physical harm or psychological harm or whatever. Without that, we can't progress on to belonging or learning or feeling great or self-esteem or whatever. So some of the things that can stop us feeling safe and not feeling safe in the family, not feeling safe in the neighbourhood, not feeling safe at school or whatever, that's the second rung.
Yeah, we all like to know that our world's ordered, that we've got some sort of control in it, and that helps us to feel safe. Routines can help children feel safe. Having a bedtime gives someone an idea on when they go to bed, when they wake up, even what sort of foods we eat and what are treats and when we have treats. All of these things help a child to have direction and safety. Our government gives us laws, police enforce them. That's all for our safety. And as Trev said, we need to feel safe within our family. We need to feel safe with the people that live in our house. We need to feel safe at school if we go to school. We feel safe when we belong in a tribe or in a community, in a family. We live social lives. We don't actually do very well in isolation.
We're actually born into tribes because our family really is our immediate tribe. Another tribe that we belong to is the neighbourhood that we live in.
From a very early age, a young child relies on its parents. The parent provides for all of their needs. They provide safety, and they learn to rely on their parents. They expect their parents to provide for them, to satisfy the need for love, for warmth. And when these things are provided, they actually learn to trust that their needs will be met. When the needs aren't met, we start to have issues around belonging and feeling safe and learning how to trust people. So the first sense of belonging is with our family, with our parents, and we continue to seek belonging all our lives. We all continually in our lives look for where we fit. Small children in a kindergarten, they find their mates in the kindy and that's where they fit. And when we go to school, if we're musical, we join a music group, or if we like craft, we join a craft group. And that's not just at school, we join a sporting club, and that becomes a part of our life, and that's a part of where we fit, where we belong, where we function. It's not only for our mental and emotional well-being, it's how we grow, it's how we're challenged, it's how we learn new skills. We learn to cooperate with people in a team, people that we do the same things with. This happens when there's an overwhelming amount of stress that exceeds our ability to cope. Often we don't have the skills to cope with a traumatic event that happens, but it could be just trauma that has been present throughout our life. We've talked about serve and return in relationships where you might have eye contact with someone and that eye contact is looking for a response, or when you have a conversation, you expect like a tennis match in the conversation, the serve and return. If that's absent, we can experience disconnection, and when that's longer term, we can experience trauma. Even living in a chaotic environment can lead to trauma. Violence in the home, bullying, living with someone who has a mental illness creates a certain amount of tension and trauma.
Or even listening to other people's problems can be trauma. You know, if you listen to enough of them, like if you're a hairdresser or a counsellor or whatever, or a pastor, and you continually listening to other people's problems, it can build up and become vicarious trauma in your own life.
We set up a situation where we were looking at face-to-face interactions between mothers and infants, and we filmed those, and we would code the baby's facial expressions and the mother's facial expressions. We wanted to understand the relationship between them. After playing a period of playing and engagement with the infant, we then signaled the mother to hold a still face, to not use her hands, to not talk, and just look straight ahead. And the effects on the infant were really quite dramatic. Right away, almost every infant picks up that the mother is no longer responding. Babies have all these ways of trying to get the mother's attention. When we saw Analia today, she does a fake cough with her mother. They may start self-comforting by sucking on their hand. They may lose postural control, and they become increasingly withdrawn. If we can see these kinds of effects in 2 minutes, one can begin to think about the child who comes from a neglectful home.
If that experience is not changed, if the child's experience of chronic stress does not improve, then that brain can have long-term behavioral consequences.
In the still face experiment, psychologists identified 4 infant behavioural responses when a parent kept a still face. So instead of, if the child looks at you and goos and you goo back, instead of the interaction that normally happens between a child and a parent, the parent held a still face. And there were 4 definite behavioural responses to the parent holding a still face. And they were, the child gave a fake cough to gain mum's attention. She started sucking her thumb, self-comforting. She started thrashing around in her seat, so that was a loss of control. And then she just sat back and became very withdrawn and sunk into herself. So they were 4 definite responses that were identified. And those responses are really obvious in a small child. But those 4 responses still happen in life as we grow into adulthood. But we just learn how to mask them a bit better. We get really clever at hiding. So the four responses, the first one, the fake cough, can become varying degrees of illness. And whether they're real or imagined, like we have hypochondria, often the child says, "Mum, I've got a pain in the tummy today," and they might not have a pain in the tummy. They just might want to stay home. They just might want to spend some time with mum. That's the progression of looking for attention through a fake cough and illness. The self-comforting moves into varying degrees of addiction or experimentation with, say, drugs, alcohol, looking to numb pain. And loss of control, it's where we thrash around. Bullying can be a part of that, violence in the home. And withdrawal means that we sink back into ourselves, we isolate, we become depressed, we can become anxious, we don't want to interact with people. We might move into our bedroom and become a gamer and not interact with anyone.
So are you saying that they're all symptoms of...
disconnection?
They're all symptoms of disconnection around you, like if you're feeling abandoned.
When we're in relationship with someone, it's expected that we will get a response in some way. Like if I look at you, I expect you to look back at me and to listen to what I say and then to have a response.
If you look at that from an adult point of view, like the ultimate rejection could be divorce, it could be losing a job. So if you carry those infant behaviours through to adulthood, a way of handling a divorce could be that you get sick. It could be that you numb the pain with some sort of an addiction, whether that's booze, pornography, whatever.
Gambling, alcohol.
Or you can start fighting with people. That's another adult reaction to abandonment. Or you can just isolate, get depressed.
The 2 ways are generally related to acting out or acting in, withdrawing. Shame is the engine that drives all addiction.
When people start to deal with addictions, generally they focus on the actual addiction. You know, is it drugs or is it alcohol? Is it pornography? Is it violence or whatever? Domestic violence, all those things. They try to put the bushfire out. They're working on the actual symptom of the problem, whereas real progress is made when people start to look at what is actually causing that addiction, what is the underlying shame, and how can we deal with the shame? Because That's actually the key to recovery, to find the underlying issue or issues that cause trauma and actually cause the behaviours that led to the guilt, which led to the shame.
Which led to the attachment.
Yes.
The wrong attachment.
When you find yourself handling your discomfort with addictions or violence or whatever, in a quiet moment you start to feel guilty about what you're doing to the people around you and the guilt about how you're handling things. I look at it this way. Guilt is about, what am I doing? What am I doing that I don't normally do, and what result is it having around me? But then when you continue doing it and you've tried to stop, it becomes, the next word is shame. So guilt, if guilt is what am I doing, shame is who have I become? I've become a person that I never was before or didn't want to be and really don't like.
So you're living against your values.
Yeah. Actually, when we talk to a lot of people that have had mental health problems, and I've spoken to lots of them over life, and street people and people who have a certain amount of guilt and shame, their nervous breakdown, let's call it that, or psychotic event, whatever, it's generally when they have this aha moment of, who have I become? I am now somebody that I don't want to be. I'm now somebody that I don't like. And that awareness of being totally out of control, that's the shame. And shame, when you get to that point, you can either go upwards or downwards. You can go deeper into the addictions and things that help mask it and help you feel better. Or you can say, put your hands up and say, I really need help with this. I can't do it anymore. For hundreds of years, how we dealt with our shame is we took it to the church on Sunday. So these days we have psychologists. We go along to the psychologist.
I think it's about separating what we've done from who we are, because often we become very mixed up. We think that we are what we've done rather than we're a separate person and we have this behaviour that might not be right or good, but it's the only way we've learned to cope with things that may have happened to us. And that's the sorting out. When we have any emotion, rather than ignoring it, to look at it, to see whether it's real, whether it is indicating that there is something going on, and whether that something that's going on is something that I need to deal with, it needs a response.
One of the other ways that the community deals with addiction through organisations that have been very successful, like AA and NA, and the basis of that is acknowledging that you are out of control. You actually deal with the thing that started it in the first place. You know, they don't talk about let's wean you off booze like they do with weaning you off cigarettes or whatever. It's total abstinence, and then it's not until the anaesthetic stops that you actually feel the real pain and the underlying issue comes up, and that's why those organisations deal with shame in that way. The sense of belonging.
We can be ourselves. We feel accepted for who we really are. We feel like we belong. We actually feel like we have value. It's where we have relationships that are built on interactive exchange, where we listen, we care, we respond and have others respond appropriately to us. It's where true happiness and true contentment in life is found.
Because it's founded on the real me, not the one that's I'm projecting to the community to cover up all the things that they don't know about. So once we've dealt with that and I become the real me, I can then have legitimate connections and legitimate relationships, and I can be part of a group. I can feel that I belong because I don't feel that if they knew me, they wouldn't want me there.
You don't have to try and cover up anything about yourself because you're living honestly with yourself and before other people. We have a saying about intimacy. Intimacy is simply, into me I see, and into me I allow you to see. So I don't have a place where I need to hide who I am because I think that you might not like me. I can just be free to be me.